meeting, of course, we're going to re-pledge the flag. So if you all stand, please. We pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to welcome you all on behalf of the board. I think you know, maybe you don't know. Why don't you stand up and introduce yourselves again?
Hi,
everybody.
was that?
Let's start with, right.
My name is Jeff Shue. I'm with C.S. Davidson, Township Engineer.
My name is Nick DeLuca. I'm from Susquehannock High School, and me and my friend Zach have been recording the meeting since November, I think. Unfortunately, Zach couldn't be with us tonight. He's at a doctor's appointment.
Wendy Brown, recording secretary.
My name's Tim Buck. I'm the attorney for the town.
Todd Sigler, Township Manager.
The next item on our agenda is to approval of the minutes from our last meeting, that's our January meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes.
I'll second that motion with one correction. We got the sale of the grader listed as a grinder. I just seen that this evening.
It's embarrassing. Anyway, any discussion? Call for the vote. Aye. Aye. Next item, item number 4, Treasurer's report for December and January. You have a we get a pack each month about a week before our meetings with items which relate to the agenda. So everybody has had a copy of the Treasurer's report for your review. I entertain a motion to accept the Treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve December
How about January?
and January's. We have them here. Let's do it as well.
We do them separately?
Well, that's what I was doing.
Okay, then I'll second that motion. Any discussion? Call for the vote. Aye.
Aye.
Now we'll accept the motion to approve the January Treasurer's report.
I'll make a motion to approve January's.
Second. I'll second that motion. Call for the vote. Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Now, item number 5, public comment. Again, I encourage you to come up and speak into the microphone. Give us your name and address, please. Anybody interested in saying anything at all? Okay. Moving on. Ordinances and resolutions. Ordinance number 2015-02, the intergovernmental agreement. Todd, you want to bring up the date on that?
How about if I pass that off to the solicitor?
Better yet.
Okay. Once upon a time, that's how all
This-
good ordinances start. Once upon a time, there was a coalition formed to, pursuant to Pennsylvania DEP rules, to create a York County Regional Chesapeake Bay Pollution Reduction Plan group in order to enforce some provisions the DEP has handed down to improve runoff situation and reduce pollution to the Chesapeake Bay. Much discussion in the county about it, many meetings, and all of the participants to that group adopted it about 6 months ago, including Shrewsbury Township. We adopted this ordinance. However, one of the provisions in that ordinance said that if Pennsylvania DEP did not approve the agreement within 6 months, that it was going to expire. And guess what happened? Pennsylvania DEP did not approve it within 6 months, and so the provision expired. And so all the municipalities that adopted it 6 months ago are doing so again, this time without that time limitation in it, so that it will survive. It's been duly advertised. It's unfortunate to have to advertise an ordinance twice. But in this case, when we advertised it on behalf of 5 different municipalities who were doing it. So we're still at 2/5 of the cost of advertising an ordinance like this, and hopefully we're going to get to 3/5. That's a summary of what we're doing here. If you have any questions, please let me know. It's purely a routine administrative matter to be adopted.
We've already gone through these documents before. They remain unchanged.
That's correct.
All right, entertain a motion to approve the ordinance number 2015-02, and also the York County intergovernmental agreement, which we can do both at once.
I'll make the motion.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Item number 7, subdivision and land development. Todd, I'm going to start with you. Waiver request for land development for Keystone Kids Early Learning Center.
Okay.
This is on Miller Park Drive, adjacent to our Miller Park actually.
Try to get the plan up here on the screen so you can bear with me a minute.
I want to add to while we're waiting. Both this organization,
Can I interrupt? Do you mind leaving those on because the video you can't hardly see?
I'm on.
I'm sorry.
if you're ready, proceed.
Yeah. Sorry.
It cuts into my nap time. That's okay.
It's just, we learned from the first meeting or two, when we turn the front lights off, you can't hardly see anything up front. That's why we took the lights out of those two and hoping that it would help. Anyway, the first item that we have is...
The wrong one.
It is. The Keystone Kids, which is down off of Miller Park Drive. They had a subdivision, or a land development plan that came through some time ago, and they built the daycare center. And the main daycare center is off to the right here. Is off to the right, I'll be better with my mouse, is off on this side. And Miller Park Drive is out front here, and Miller Park is back actually over here to the right. Anyway, when they had their subdivision plan approved, they showed an envelope at this location for 3,400 square feet for a gymnasium for future expansion. They've decided now that they've been in a few years, they do need some growing room, but they don't want it to be a gymnasium. These classrooms are existing. This is what would be new. And, excuse me, they did come and they talked to staff. We know what they want to do. They're requesting a waiver to the full land development plan. Staff reviewed it, we discussed it with them, and that's our recommendation to the board, that we waive the requirement for a land development plan. And the reason being is they have adequate sewage capacity in place now, they have adequate parking in place, and their stormwater calculations and so forth were all done at the time of that original land development plan. The only difference is that they were proposing the gymnasium, and they're just proposing a different use at this point. It's still accessory to their main use. So for that reason, it doesn't exceed the 3,400 square feet either. So for that reason, they are asking, and staff supports their request for a waiver to the land development plan.
Is there a motion to approve the waiver request?
So moved.
Is there a second? Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Aye.
2. Aye.
Aye.
Next item is the Chestnut.
Yeah, next item is Chestnut Commerce Center. Give everybody a little idea. This is 83, this is south heading into Maryland, this is north, this is Tawner Road. And right here you have Elm Drive. Where you see the red outline is the full parcel. Chestnut Commerce is proposing to subdivide everything to the west of Elm Drive. Excuse me. And their request was for, the first item was to waive their escrow fees. Under our fee schedule, they would be required to deposit $7,000, which I believe is excessive for this somewhat simple subdivision.
How many acres is it?
I believe it's about 26 acres that they're looking to subdivide.
Which is in yellow.
Yes, yes.
And where again is Elm Drive?
Pardon?
Elm Drive board is that?
It's not near.
Yeah, this is Elm Drive right here.
True
This
value.
is Elm Drive. Takes you out to True Value. And this is Elm Drive. So what my recommendation is to the board, that we do require him to pay the application fee and require them to file a $1,500 minimum escrow fee and then pay all fees associated with the subdivision.
This runs on both Tolnet and Elm Drive.
That's correct. Yes.
I'll give Phil a chance to comment on that. Phil?
You want me to comment on that?
Well, I mean, I don't necessarily want you, I'm gonna give you the opportunity.
The ordinance requirement, actually, when I read it, it's not $7,000, it would be $10,000 to put in an escrow for reviewing the plan. And the only thing we're doing is drawing a line down the center of Elm Street. There's, you know, we're not doing land development at all, we're not making any changes, we're doing nothing but drawing a line down Elm Street and dividing that piece off. It shouldn't take more than a meeting or two, and there's no reason for $10,000 to sit in escrow for that. I had, as part of the plan, we were going to give an easement for the future moving of Elm Street, but I think what we're going to do now is just let that be part of the land development plan also. And when I proposed that, I thought I had proposed to reduce the escrow to $500, and when Todd came back at $1,500, I agree that that's reasonable. It shouldn't exceed $1,500, and I'm fine with that.
Thank you, thank you, Phil. Okay, we'll entertain a motion then to approve,
I'll make the motion to approve.
what, Chestnut Commerce Center.
Yeah, this is for the $300 application fee and the minimum commercial escrow of
This has to do with the
$1,500.
fees as you stated.
Correct.
All right, we have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All in favor? Aye.
The second item has to do with the surveyor of records. That parcel was originally surveyed by C.S. Davidson, who is the township engineer. So they're asking for approval from the board for C.S. Davidson to be the surveyor of record. C.S. Davidson is not preparing the subdivision plan, but they would be using the the survey that Davidson had initially done,
The prior survey,
prior survey.
not going forward. What are
Correct.
you gonna do going forward? Do somebody different?
Well,
Or is this done? I mean,
the survey, you know, of the entire parcel is something that C.S. Davidson's already done, so we just didn't want to have to resurvey it again.
right, but you're not gonna do anything else, so this is done, you're not gonna need anybody, another engineer, until you get going again, right?
They won't be an engineer, they'd be, even on this plan, our engineer will be Eric Johnson and Associates.
Okay.
So they'll be the engineer of record. The only thing is that C.S. Davidson's shown as the engineer of record. I mean, I'm sorry, the surveyor of record.
They already
Yeah.
used what's already
I'll
been
make
done.
the
They aren't doing anything other than being the record. Yeah, thanks.
The one thing I'll mention too is, as you go out from the hardware, Elm Drive, to Tawna Road, that intersection's offset. Yeah, it's not a true intersection, so as part of this future development, the developer's gonna be responsible for making that a true intersection. And, anyway, so, where are we here? We have a motion?
I'll make the motion to accept C.S. Davidson as our survey of record.
I'll second it. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Foxman Boards, this was pretty much finalized at the last meeting. I'll let Todd and Sue, anything to add to what?
No, I don't even know why it's here.
No, the only reason it's on is, last month the board approved the Foxman Board, his subdivision plan, on several conditions. We sent a letter advising what those conditions were, and under township ordinance and the MPC, they had 5 days in which to respond. We did not get any response, so therefore the plan was denied. That was just the purpose to update where the status of that plan was.
You want to, this is a one lot subdivision on Bowser Road.
Correct.
All right, so we're going to take it off as far as when you want to take it off. But future agendas. why is it on here?
Exactly.
No, it's going to be off, there's no reason for it to
Just
just
trying to accommodate you.
Yeah, I understand.
Reports. Manager report comes first.
Everyone has a copy of that.
Yeah.
Capital projects for 2015, it's just a list there. I'm working with Jeff to try to get some big specs together to pave Mount Airy Road between West Forest Avenue and looks like we're probably going to go down to the roundabout. We're hoping to do that project this year. And then there's 3 culvert projects, some of which, probably all of them, are going to need to be permitted. So we're working with them on those projects. Any other thing to mention? I'm expecting the park improvement specifications for Windy Hill Park, Hangtown Park, and Winchester Park. I'm expecting those specs to be before the board at our March 4th meeting. At that time, hoping the board will authorize advertisement so we can get that project started here by early summer.
We're gonna update 3
Windy Hill,
lots.
Winchester Park, and Hangtown Park.
There'll be a new equipment put in there. There'll be safety equipment, there'll be some landscaping done, so long overdue, I might add. All right, that's
Other than
it.
that, it's just standard reports on there. If anyone has any questions?
You want to comment on anything else?
No, I have something I want to address, but I'm going to save it for the end of the meeting if I may.
Okay.
Thank you.
You told me you were going to have something to say, right?
I did, sorry.
Okay, sanitary sewer. So this is the, go ahead.
Sanitary sewer, again, the first item is on your report repeatedly, and that's the number of liens and the amounts for the sites in phase 1 and 2 project. Phase 3, they wrapped up construction today. They're planning to do air testing tomorrow, and then they'll have to wait until spring to come back to do the lawn restoration and so forth. So that went along without really any issues, so pleased to see that happen. That's all I have for sewer.
And this is a requirement from DEP. We had, I think, 4 areas in the township that were on septic systems and they failed. We were mandated by the state to provide public sewer to those areas, and this is the final area, phase 3.
Correct.
Of a 3-phase improvement. And it's being paid for by the people that are being served. All right. All right, solicitor. You know.
I didn't submit any written report, although I had consultations with your manager this month. There wasn't anything in writing pertinent to tonight's meeting, so I didn't submit a written report.
That means our bill will be very low.
That's always the goal.
It's our goal too, by the way. Is it your goal too? Yeah, just eventually. Zoning officer, we have a report in our information about the activity. Nothing. Any questions about what was submitted? He tells us how many complaints you got about dogs and all that sort of stuff. He enforces all the ordinances. The next item, zoning officer, of course, we just mentioned that. Maintenance, that's a question about maintenance. Engineer, your report is in our pack. Planning commission, we have their minutes in our pack. Old business, exit 4. We have some news about exit 4. I think it's good news.
If I can, under supervisor comments, I just want to ask you a question. You said in the earlier hearing about the website, a link?
Our website,
Yeah, I
on the
have it
front
up.
page,
Yeah, okay.
where does it say where the hearing was?
If you click on the proposed zoning ordinance amendments,
That shouldn't, but it shouldn't be there. It should say, right up
and it's
top.
right there.
No, but it shouldn't be there, and it should be up top. Go back. Now, at the top, where it says all the stuff that's happening, it should be right there. Like if there's a hearing before the next board meeting, put zoning hearing, 2-4 at 6 PM, and then
Well,
Board
it
of
was,
Supervisors.
it was placed there because I assumed that anyone that's interested in the amendments is going to worry about the hearing.
Well,
Anyway, I didn't want to let you know it wasn't
yeah,
on the
oh,
website.
I thought it was maybe under there somewhere, but it was hard, nobody saw it, couldn't figure it out. Just put it on there, that's all.
Okay, exit 4. There was a meeting held, it was January 29th, at the Shrewsbury Fire Company. Representatives that were there were for Hopewell Township, Shrewsbury Borough, Shrewsbury Merchants Association, Shrewsbury Township, Shrewsbury Fire Department, York County Planning Commission, PennDOT, as well as Representative Kate Klunk, Representative Kristen Hill, and office staff from Senator Scott Wagner's office. What we did is York County Planning Commission and PennDOT, they had a consultant who went through 6 different alternatives that they looked at as a follow-up to our meeting, which was held here about a year ago. And those 6 alternatives ranged in price from $5 million to a little over $13 million. Their primary focus when they looked at improvements in this area was to try to get traffic that backs up on 83 to try to get that off faster and quicker. Currently there's partial funding, but they're optimistic that they'll have full funding within 2.5 years for what's being proposed. When we met a year ago, they believed the bridge was in fairly decent condition, would last another 20 years, but a recent inspection has deemed it structurally deficient, so their alternative that they're going with now is actually to replace that bridge.
The overpass.
The overpass, yes, the 83 bridge that passes over 851. And I have up here so you can see. They are still going with what they call the DDI, the diverging diamond. But if you recall, you basically had 1 lane under the bridge, under the original version that they
Going over
showed.
the road now?
No, we're still going under. But the difference is, it won't be,
Yes, they are.
it's still under.
Yes, they are.
It'll be 4 lanes under the bridge now versus 2 in the 1 turn. So it'll be 4 lanes. The other thing is, they're also going to make 851 4 lanes from Mount Airy Road down to Wolf Road, which will also help pull traffic off faster. And this one is estimated at, I believe it was a little over $13 million, $13.3 million. The next step that they're going with, and let me back up, everyone that was there and was representing their municipalities or organizations, there were some questions and some discussion, but ultimately at the end of the meeting, there was no one that voiced opposition to this proposal. We know it's new, it's going to take some getting used to, but with what we have and what's there, there weren't really too many other alternatives that are available. So there was a consensus of all the representatives to move forward with this. So there's actually 3 phases. The next phase is the preliminary engineering, and that will involve them getting their environmental approvals. They'll do about 30% of the design, and then they will also gather public involvement, which they are telling us that they're probably looking at spring of next year, so it'll be about a year. But they'll hold a public hearing and have a little more detail of their plans. Get into the second phase, which is the final design. That's when they work with utilities regarding any relocations. They'll secure any of the necessary right-of-ways that they need. They'll prepare their bid documents, and they'll also secure all their environmental permits. The third and final phase would be the bidding of the project and then actual construction. And they anticipate that construction would last about 2 years. Because unfortunately, they're not going to close down 83 in 1 lane. So they're going to have to do a half a bridge at a time.
This is a big improvement over what we got earlier.
Yes.
strictly with the 4 lanes instead of the 2 lanes under the overpass.
And I am going to put on the website in the next week or two a link. We got several links from them. Someone else emailed me a link that kind of gives you an idea of how these diverging diamonds work. And actually, Phil emailed one to me, and that's probably one of the better ones that I've seen, that really gives you an idea of how you would drive through one. So that's where we're at with the exit 4.
Are there any questions from the audience? We're kind of interactive here, informal to some degree, so anytime you have a question, we'll try to answer it. Or comment for that matter. Next item is new business. Yes.
I have a question. So what they're planning to do now is to move the embankment back, or either they'll excavate and move the embankment back so they'll have a turning lane in each direction.
Correct.
So the
Plus it'll be 4 lanes versus...
Right, it's 4 lanes, so they'll have a straight lane, a turning lane, a straight lane, turning lane in the other direction. Are they going to, when they cut the embankment back, otherwise right now it's too narrow, when they cut it back, are they going, have they made the consideration of those tractor trailers, coming around?
Yeah, that's all part of the design, the conceptual plan. They've done their templates and they believe this is what it's going to look at. But when they get into that preliminary plan is when they'll get into the details using their turning templates and so forth.
Yeah, because one of the problems is that they'll come off, we'll say coming south, a tractor trailer, and they'll stop right there, and he can't move any further.
Well, if you look here, this ramp basically comes down here right now and makes almost an abrupt, almost a 90-degree turn. You can see here now, there's more of a flowing, sweeping turn. And I don't know if you can see here, we don't know any details, but it appears that, is it case and K, will probably be impacted. I don't know to what degree.
Looks like they might just
I'm not promising.
It's going to the middle of the building. Unless he's putting in a drive-through.
Todd is the township's representative on this group. Mr. Montanelli and Phil are backups. And I assume you're being kept well informed.
Yeah, Todd's doing a good job.
Thank you. You're such a kind person. I skipped a very important part of our agenda. I didn't do it maliciously. Supervisor comments.
I think I'm supposed to get the board to approve the farmer's market contract with just people who can make a motion.
I'm going to do it here right now.
Right now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
Make a motion to accept the farmer's market contract.
Any comments? Todd, we just go ahead and do it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be formally approved by the board.
Right. And we have someone that's going to help you next year, and I'm on board to help with the farmer's market.
I'm going to try and ask Ben, I'm going to try and get Ben involved, so that if he wants to continue on.
I think it's a great idea. Great opportunity for you, man.
Yes.
Okay, so,
I'll second.
second, all right, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you.
What's your vote?
Opposed.
I also want to say that I am trying to get in touch with the fire departments to see if they want to be our pit beef vendor. Because I think that'd be a good community event and the community could support them. And so I've contacted one, well, I've left a message with one, I've contacted 2 others. So I'm going to see if I can get our fire departments to be our pit beef vendor so you guys can support them as fundraisers every 2nd and 4th Saturday.
Sue's done a lot of work on the farmer's market. Any success is due to her effort. I thank her for that. We started out slow. Hopefully it will grow more in the future. Bill, you got anything on the supervisor comments?
No.
Sue, do you have anything else?
No, that's it.
Jeff?
No.
I have a few things. We're going to elect 2 new supervisors this coming year. In fact, petitions are going to be circulated pretty soon, that is this month, for candidates. And as you those who follow these meetings don't know, we cover a lot of things. We don't get any pensions, we don't get paid $2,500 a year, that's for I'll take home. No benefits, no medical benefits, it's just a labor of love, so to speak. Anyway, and it's, I encourage people that are well qualified and have no particular act to run for office. We're always looking to enhance the board. I didn't say improve, I said enhance. All kidding aside, 2 openings. So that we'll put 2 people in office here next January. And I'm hopeful that we get some really good candidates. And here's what I'm thinking what constitutes a good candidate. Someone who is civil, of course, who can communicate well, who can work with others, and understands that we're here to protect the common good, and that means the next generation, and so forth, and not to help any particular person, although we try and do that too. Somebody with an open agenda. They aren't running because they have something and what they're fixed on. They're kind of a one-issue candidate. Someone who has a more broader perspective. Not beholding or supported by a particular person or group, particularly if they have an axe to grind. They're independent. Willing to study the ordinances and procedures, responsibilities, ideally have an understanding of recent township history, as, for example, what's transpired in the past year or so. Reasonably intelligent, and in fact, and finally we say, if you want to serve this community, there's no better way than being on the Board of Supervisors. Because you don't provide basic services like parks, snow removal, roads, all those things, garbage collection. But you also can protect our township for the future by developing a good comprehensive plan, maintaining a good comprehensive plan, good ordinances, so the next generation will not receive an impaired township, which you want to hope is even enhanced. So that's just some of my thinking, and I hope that those, I know that people out here are probably going to consider running. I would particularly emphasize the agricultural heritage of this township. We don't want to go like some other townships have done, like I mentioned earlier at the public hearing, that are now pretty much wall-to-wall housing. This is one of the leading agricultural townships in York County. It's our #1 industry. And also that.
Thank you, Sue.
Really?
She's so impulsive. I mean, anyway, and also that every square inch of land in this township is a watershed for public water supplies, either in York or in Baltimore area. So environmental integrity is something that we need to kind of focus on too. Thank you. Yes.
Do they have to attend all the meetings?
No. Oh.
No, and you don't even have to reside in the township. Even though that's the law, you don't have to do it.
No.
Just don't worry about that.
I'm concerned about that.
We all are concerned about it. And if somebody, if somebody's running, they've got to take this pretty seriously. And if they can't, if they find out once they're elected, if they're elected, they can't make meetings, they need to resign. We'll appoint somebody else.
That's a problem we have now.
It is.
Name and address, please.
Pardon me?
Name and address.
Linda Burrows.
It is a problem, and we'd like to have an immediate cure, but even our lawyers are stumped with that one. They can't offer any instant gratification in that regard. So.
We do have some people in the township have standing though.
Enough.
We have enough standing. Yes, we have.
Just as a matter of record, who's going off next year?
My term is up, and what's your name?
You can say
Leah
it.
Taylor, Deanne Struble.
Sure, so are you saying that I've gone on long enough?
Yeah.
I'll be quiet.
My position's open and yours.
Okay, now we're moving on with our agenda. large burn permit. So I do want to give a quick overview of that.
Yeah, our ordinance requires anyone that's going to have a controlled burn greater than 20 square feet is required to get approval by the Board of Supervisors. Greg Will, who lives at 11116 Fritz Road, is requesting such approval, and his burn, he said it's going to be out in the middle of his fields along Clearview Drive.
I'll make that motion to approve.
I'll second.
I have a question. So we don't have very many large burn permits, they're massive areas. And I know that some of them, there's some plastic and other materials mixed in with the trees and limbs and all. So before you approve this permit, if they have this pile assembled, someone at the township, maybe Todd, you or someone else on staff, please go out and look at it.
Good soul rush. I've been past it.
Okay, it's all brush.
I've
Let
been
him,
past
let
it.
him go check.
Thank you. And then I think that from now on, that our permit fee should include our inspector, would cover our inspector when we're out looking at it.
We gotta change the fee structure.
No, just leave it alone. We don't have that many.
I know that,
He gets paid enough money, you can go out there and do it.
well, okay, whatever. But I'm saying that, I just think that we don't.
This is the second one we've had in 5 years that I've been on the
That
board.
should be easy.
Right, just go.
Todd or his
Yeah, drive by it.
Todd, okay, moving on, sorry.
All right.
Todd or his designee. You, that's the motion. Okay, we approve, I'm gonna
Motion is second.
amend the motion so that it does cover that.
Okay.
With that amendment, I'll call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye.
Stormwater agreement, Todd?
Yeah, again, this is, we get these, seems like monthly, it's a formality. The stormwater O&M plan has been reviewed by the township engineer, and when it gets to this point is when everything has been approved and the plan is good to go. This is the last step.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to approve that agreement. I'll move to approve the agreement.
I'll second it.
Okay, the motion is second. All in favor?
Aye.
This should be brief. Office space.
Yeah, we received a call from Representative Kate Klump's office, and she's looking to extend herself down here into the southeastern region of her district, and they inquired whether the township would have any space that they could use 2, maybe 3 days a week. So I was thinking the possibility would be our small conference room off of the main entrance, handicap accessible, it's right at the front entrance. It would be there, open while we're open. So we do have Carrie Nates, who is from Representative Clark's office, if you have any questions for her.
Will you stand up?
Sure.
That's good stuff. Thanks for coming.
You're welcome.
I don't see that it would cause any interference to the office staff for that.
I'll make a motion to approve that request.
You don't think that back here would be less traffic if there's traffic?
Well, I just think when people would come, they would probably come in the front entrance, and then we'd have to walk the
Shuffle back
visitors
through.
through the office.
That's fine. All right.
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
One other thing, while we're on this subject of office space, we have a suite of rooms upstairs. This is a 13,000 square foot building, and it's a very nice office space. And I think we need to consider renting it out. But first, we have to see if our tax exempt status will be preserved. How we do that, whether we still get credit for our square footage and then have to add theirs, or could you check into that, Todd, or maybe our attorney would know?
We can talk about that. If you were to sublease an exempt
Yeah.
property like this, you would probably be subject to taxation on the real estate here based on the square footage.
You can donate space, right? Or does it have to be a nonprofit? Can you donate space? Can you let people like use space and not charge?
Yeah.
If you didn't make any profit on
No
it,
profit.
Correct.
assessment would
So
probably
you could
consider it
find
a
a
non-tax.
nonprofit up there.
That's correct.
If we rent that out for money,
Right, if you have income,
only that percent of this building would be taxed, doesn't it?
That's correct.
We need to look into that to see what the rental potential is and what our cost would be as far as taxes. Is the board okay with that? Chicken cook. It's really a very nice space up there. Next item is the 5K and kids fun run. We did this last year. It's pretty well monitored, protected and all.
Correct, they provide a certificate of insurance, the route is up there on the wall, same as I believe they used last year.
So,
I make a motion to accept the.
second, all in favor?
Aye. Who's the second? Who's
Who
second?
second?
Aye.
Everybody voted aye?
Aye.
Okay. On the next item, E, you want to bring that up?
Yeah, when we did our appointments in January, we did not have the line item on there for Township Park and Landscape Advisor. That position had been held by Paul in the past. He's willing to continue that if the board so wishes, and if so.
Motion.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
I'll recuse myself. But that's a non-paying position, by the way.
Of course you want to be
As
up
you're
here.
welcome,
trust
you're
me.
welcome to imagine. Anyway, so, installation of 9 fire hydrants for Forest Lakes. Dave, you want to have anything to say about this?
It's first I heard of it. One word.
You just live there, you're the last to know.
Well, it's in conjunction with them installing the new mains, which is typically what York Water will do. We have a request, requesting approval from Shrewsbury Township. The request is from York Water Company. Those that may be aware, they acquired the water system down at Forest Lakes. They're planning this spring to start installing brand new water mains throughout the community. And where you see these red dots with the yellow highlights are the 9 hydrant locations that they are proposing. You see these 2 X's here, they're existing hydrants already. They put those in last year.
Now, Dave, you weren't informed of this by the water company, right?
No,
It's kind of a,
I don't know if our president was notified or not.
are you upset or you'll be all right?
Looks kind of excessive to me.
Considering you live on a lake. Well, sort of, not today, you know.
Well,
A couple months ago.
are those are mandated by some sort of formula, I would assume?
I'm going to put the fire chief on the spot. I don't know if you had the opportunity to check your email.
You're not on the list now, but you're.
Tony Meyer.
I'm sorry?
Did you have the opportunity to check your email today?
Yeah, I saw it this afternoon.
Okay. Did you have any comments on that?
I have comments, but that's not my first 2 districts.
Okay. Well, I tried to get in touch with the first 2. I don't know if you saw the email.
Yeah, I saw the email.
Yeah.
They got it this afternoon.
Oh, they did?
Yeah, the car chief got it this afternoon.
Do you know if you had any comments?
I don't know either. Yeah. I forwarded.
York Water has established pattern on how we put hydrants out. And just for the community, this is an adequate coverage for the lakes area. It gives the fire department rapid response to water. When we have to draft out of the lakes, it takes time to get to the lake, get hoses into the lake, pull water out, and then send water out. I mean, that's the purpose of the hydrants, is it's immediately available at all time of the year. So as a matter of speed, that's the best thing for you, is to have hydrants in the area.
Right there.
Do you think they're a little excessive there? I mean, some of those are a couple hundred feet apart of us.
I'd have to measure them out.
That one's halfway down Magnolia. That's probably where you live. Isn't it Al, the one that looks like it's right in front of you almost?
Well, the question is to the Township Planning Commission, what are you doing with Ray Myers Farm? Right there, you're looking and staring down. The York Water's getting all their water to the back end of Forest Lakes land to open up the farm that I know is the Ray Myers Farm above us. It's as simple as that. I mean, anybody can read that map and see what they're up to. So it's like, what are you doing? You know, you tell us what you're doing. We don't know what's going on. We're the last to know. We're only paying $15,000 per household to drain our lakes and take care of everything that the EPA and DER is asking us to do. So we didn't get any say on that. And now we're not getting any say on the York Water, how many fire hydrants come bounding in. I mean, look at there. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fire hydrants along Magnolia Drive, 1,000 foot. I mean, now you telling me they want to protect those 10 houses there that much?
Well,
We're up to something. Somebody's playing games here.
that's Al Burrs is a resident of,
Magnolia Drive, New Freedom.
he's been there for 65 years. Mike,
Well, we're still paying this tax. for fire.
Sure.
Not on the list yet, but
Yeah.
who knows
I
who's
I
on
think
the list.
that, I think that you should inquire with your water company. We're just kind of passing on what they're telling us.
Do we have to vote on this? Can we table this for another month?
They want to get moving on their installing their water mains.
Yeah, they're hoping to start this early.
What do you want us to do? You want us to vote on this or not?
We can vote on
You're the
it,
people that are
subject
impacted.
to your.
You're impacted.
It looks like a lot of fire hydrants to me.
It looks excessive to me, that's why I was asking, nobody knows better than.
I mean, there's one halfway down Magnolia, and then Magnolia makes a turn, and then there's another one there, and then you go up the hill, you go down Well Drive, and, I mean, I don't know if it's too many or not enough. It's kind of windy back there, but
I'll make a motion that we,
That's too many to a house burns. There won't be enough.
I'll make a motion that we approve the 9 hydrants, subject to, the leaders of the Forest Lakes community talking to York Water Company and getting back to our manager as to their position. Right, so if you're satisfied, after you talk to the water company, notify the township, and then this motion will be passed. Till then, it won't be.
so you're making the
So
motion pursuant
is
to
leave it in
the
the hands of Forest Lakes.
Forest Lakes. That's what you just said. Pursuant to Forest Lakes approval.
No, but then getting back, and then they're coming up. I don't know whether I'm going too far with approval. What do you, what?
I think we table it for a month. Why don't you just talk about it? I mean, is a month gonna kill you guys?
No.
I mean, I'd rather be safe than sorry.
Okay. I'll make,
That's the first
I'll
I heard.
I'll revise my motion, that we table this. However, I would ask, informally, this is not part of the motion, I would ask Todd to call your water company and make sure that they don't have some thing that this is critical or something. So as long as your water company will.
When anything is critical, is they're ready to start. That's
Well,
anything
why
that's-
don't we have Forest Lakes and the water company, and maybe the fire departments?
I think we need to talk to our first responder, let them
Yeah.
make a decision.
Yeah, you talk to all of them.
We're gonna
but
wait a
then
month.
You guys hash it out and you come back. If you think it's too many or you think it's perfect, you tell us.
And if
If
your
we
water
don't
company,
want to wait a month, should we approve it based on,
We can't.
yeah, I just, that was my,
We can.
That was my-
We just try to do that.
that was my motion initially.
Yeah, and then,
I have a question.
We have a question?
I do, does this, I think, change the tax, the hybrid tax situation, since there's only a few of us? And now there are 9 or 7 more
If you're within
hydrants?
so many feet of any hydrant, you know, you're subject to the tax.
I know, but now that there are gonna be 9, I mean, does that change anything?
It does add cost, annual cost, yes.
To everybody? Or
Yes,
just the
no,
few of us that are?
it gets spread out among all the property owners.
So
The
that
ones
will
that are paying
change.
the fire hydrant tax will be the ones that pay for it.
So the ones, those of us who are paying for these fire hydrants will pay for 9 of them instead of 2 of them? Is that?
No,
no, we're paying.
it's all the fire hydrant costs distributed among all of the property owners based on your assessment. So Forest Lakes would not be billed for 9 new hydrants. That additional cost would be spread among all of the properties that are within that 780 feet.
So there'll be more added then?
Correct.
$3,322.08. It takes us from 57 hydrants to 66.
That's the tax, that's the hydrant rental tax that we get charged. That's what he's.
The township's current bill, I got all this from Todd because we had discussion on this past week. We're currently $17,441 a year. The 9 additional hydrants takes it to $21,311.
Yeah, there's that history too.
Right. And that's interesting to look at there. We've been reviewing that this week on how the increase in hydrants have occurred over the past 11 years.
I didn't see any of this. Did this come on email or what?
Yeah,
It did?
no problem. Have you been?
You're the one that questioned the,
This?
yeah, you're the one that questioned the one number. I was trying to tell you.
Oh, that's that old chart. Yeah, that's, I thought you said something new.
Okay, well, let's wrap this up. The motion basically says that we're gonna wait a month. You can talk to your water company, do what you want to do. However, if your water company raises a serious issue with why it's so important to do it sooner rather than later, we'll get back to you.
Well, I'd like to talk to our first fire chief.
Anybody want to talk to
See
you?
what he
And
recommends.
then next month, we'll make a final decision.
And then we can come back to the board and tell you what he recommends. The fire chief.
Yeah, absolutely. Anybody you want to talk to, give us your thoughts.
Do we need a second? Okay, I'll second the motion that we table this discussion till next month's meeting.
Call for the vote.
Aye.
Aye. 4 ayes.
Mr. Chairman, excuse me, we need your name and address for,
Eileen Hales,
okay. And,
and Parsley.
okay.
Next item, we're ready to move along here. EDU request. EDU is the sewage right, 250 gallons of sewage, which is what an average home produces a year, or a day rather. That's how much water they take in. And we have a request, you want to discuss that, bring it to our attention, Todd?
Yeah, the request is for, back on Calhoun Road, there's going to be a proposed subdivision coming in. This is the existing house, and the proposal is to subdivide and add 2 additional lots. So they would need 2 additional sewer EDUs in order to accomplish that. The developer is also working with Shrewsbury Borough to get public water. So that's the reason it's come before the board, because if you recall, we tried to pass a resolution that would be on our fee schedule, and that did not pass by a tie vote. So the developer is back before the board here. For these 2, if you recall, we tried to advertise for sealed bids for 8 EDUs in the past at the request of the developer. We didn't receive any bids. We advertised the second time. We did not receive any bids. So this developer is, I guess the word is willing or anticipating to pay the $5,953, which I believe is the amount that the recommendation was from the solicitor and I, based on, I believe it was a 10-year T-bill, because we're holding these for 10 years now.
It's based on the township's cost or equity in these sewage rights.
Correct.
So,
And that's how, because I think, just off the top of my head, I think the price was around $1,600 or $1,800 when they were purchased.
but the equity now, the cost of the township is almost $6,000
Correct.
a year.
$5,900, and I believe it's $53.
I want to say it again, we have a fiduciary responsibility with any assets the township owns. If we sell them, we're responsible to make sure that the township's financial interest is respected. So having said that,
I mean, the other option we have, you can try to advertise them again, but the thing is, keep in mind, our policy is that when we sell the EDUs, they have to be assigned to a specific property. So more than likely, if we're advertising for 2 EDUs, you're not going to get anyone that's going to bid other than the person that's interested in that. So you know, we have those advertising costs involved, and then it boils down to what do you want as a minimum price.
I'll make a motion that we sell these 2 EDUs at the price that was set by you and our attorney based on actual cost. And the money be spent for a party for Sioux Falls. Trying to get a nothing works here today. Anyways, we have how many EDUs? We have like 30 or 40 EDUs.
40 left.
45.
And we're reserving some for emergencies?
Yeah, 40.
45.
full project.
Okay, anyway.
Anyway,
We have a limited number, we need some for emergencies. Someone has a malfunctioning septic system and there's no alternative, we can do something, we keep it. Anyway, I would ask for a second. I won't beg, but I will ask for a second. All right.
I'll second it.
Okay. Well, thank you. There were most of the seconds, so now we can vote. Any further discussion? Call for the vote.
Vote aye.
No.
Aye.
Aye.
It passes 3-1. All right. That was kind of a, you check this. Anyway, moving on. Correspondence. So we have it in our packet. Anything you want to bring to our attention as far as correspondence?
No.
Finally, someone all been waiting for closing public comment. Again, too much public comment and a youth. Yes, come on up.
No, I'm Tony Howard back on Prospect Circle. I just want to ask, I know Todd mentioned about paving Mount Airy Road to the roundabout. Will you be replacing our crosswalk so that you graciously painted for us? I mean, will that be covered over or will you be replacing?
Oh, it'll be all brand new.
I
Okay,
would say replace and improve.
okay, as long as I know we don't have to apply again for it.
No, we're happy to do
Be
that.
vague.
Thank you. It's been working out very well, thank you. So,
We're glad it is. Any other comment? Thank you all for coming.
May I address something?
Yeah.
Okay. I want to address, and I don't normally do this, but there's been a lot of false information floating around the township about the hydrant tax. And I just feel on behalf of the township staff and the board that I need to address some of that information that I don't believe is accurate. There's information on the website, and there's also been I know there was a big article in the paper today, in the New York Dispatch. So if anyone doesn't know what I'm talking about, you can hold and read it. But anyway, just a couple of items I wanted to address. One of the things it states that in the past the township has taken the $19,000 out of the general fund to pay for the hydrants, and that is an accurate statement. But I don't know if anyone recalled my table earlier. One reason that the board has looked at this is if you look since 2004, those costs are ever increasing. And with additional development comes additional hydrants and additional costs. So you're looking 10 years ago, we were paying $2,700, and now, about 10 years later, we're up to $21,000, $22,000. So that is one reason. It hasn't been $19,000 for the last 10 years. One of the other things that was talked about, in fact, the title says the Shrewsbury Township hydrant skips some properties. One thing, let's see if I can find that here.
Probably should have an article.
No, that's not what I'm looking for, but
It's
thank you.
something different. You gotta get a ranking book for that one.
What we discovered at the last meeting, it was brought up, and there were a couple of statements made that the township missed some parcels. And we actually got criticized in the article because we said that if anyone found any errors to let us know. And we were criticized for that. And quite frankly, I don't know why that's a bad thing. If we make an error, how can we correct it if we're not made aware of it? But the thing is, what happened is the villas and also Messina, they're individual parcels, but they have multiple housing units on it. So we pulled our parcels from our GIS system. So what it did is it captured each parcel and it pulled off the first parcel number. So what it did not pick up the 90-some or whatever the number is here. I don't know what it is offhand. It pulled just one and it pulled here. We picked up approximately 95 parcels. So that's the reason for the difference in those parcel numbers. And it also states that if our list was current, that we would pick up about $6,000. I wish that that individual would provide those facts to me so I could confirm whether they're factual or not. I'm thinking it may include some of the properties which are assessed very high. The church that's up on the hill where the old Kmart is, those are tax exempt properties. We don't tax them for real estate or fire tax. Let me finish talking, please. And it says that if we included the $6,000, that the rate would have been $1,873 instead of the $2,442. And it also states in here that the perception that they got out of our meetings is that the township and the board can pass any ordinance that it wishes and takes a lackadaisical approach like, oops, we're sorry, and we'll correct it. Well, unfortunately, anyone that follows local government, there are always amendments to ordinances. We heard tonight during the zoning hearing that just because it was an ordinance 30, 40 years ago, you can change it. This same individual was also a former board member who was involved in multiple amendments to zoning ordinances. It's government, it's the process. The other thing we announced at the last meeting, this is a new program. We know that there are going to be changes, whether they're addition of parcels, deletion of parcels, we're working on it. I just thought it was unfortunate that this individual, who's a former board member and held my position in the past, was so quick to jump to judgment, knowing what's involved in this position. I can tell you that myself, the staff, and the board work hard for the residents of this township. Are we perfect? Not a single one. And I know some people are smiling and smirking and they think it's funny. I don't think it's funny because there is so much time wasted in this office on pettiness. And you have no idea how it affects the volume of work that we need to do for you, for the taxpayers, chasing after these petty things. I'm really hopeful for the benefit of the residents of the township that it soon stops, because it doesn't do anyone any good. I don't think there's any winner out there. And one of the last things is the question, it says the $6,000 question is, if the township realizes there's more than 811 properties, can they just add them to the list or they need to rescind the ordinance? I don't know why that statement was made because this person's been involved with local government for a long time. And he clearly understands that the law is what the ordinance states. The ordinance does not reference 811 properties. It doesn't reference any number. So he clearly knows that if there's any changes that need to be made, they can be made. And I do have one last thing I wanted to ask here. And I'm going to ask, I know there's a couple people here from Forest Lakes. If you read that note, condo owners should be aware of the monthly fire hydrant charge from the York Water Company. If you read that note, what would that mean to you? Like you might pay for it?
You might get a bill.
If it was on a subdivision plan?
Yes.
Is that what you get out of that note? Well, the reason I bring it up, today I pulled the subdivision plan because I know there was a question about the township taking over the streets. So I wanted to see what the street widths were and what the right-of-way was. And by dumb luck, I stumbled upon a note. And here's a plan where a note was added apparently by the board when it was at the approval point. And it's that very same note for the villas. And that note was added in 2003. This plan sheet is from the York County Recorder of Deeds office from 2003, so it wasn't just added. And what I find ironic is the person that's criticizing this and fighting this fire tax is one of the persons that approved it and signed the plan. I don't understand what's going on. And that's all well, the only last thing I'll have is, I invite that individual and any other resident. If you have questions, please don't listen to the rumor mill. Call the township office. I'm here. I will take your call. I'll provide you with any facts that you want to know. And I invite everyone in the township, I like to say, be part of the solution and not part of the problem. And we can get a lot accomplished for everyone. I'm done ranting. Thank you.
Can I have 2 minutes to
2
respond?
minutes, yeah.
Okay, that's all I need. First off, why are you exempting those properties? It states in the state law that no properties are exempt from paying the fire hydrant tax. That's number one.
Except for farmland, right? On certain farms.
Certain farmland. Number two, what does a motion mean? Does a motion that's made by the board mean anything?
What type of motion?
To approve something. The words that are spoken, do they mean anything? If you review the minutes that you just, well, no, this would be a couple months back. If you read the words, that the motion to approve that ordinance, it specifically says 811.
That was someone's statement, correct?
No, that was the motion.
Earl.
That was the motion.
Okay, we're not gonna make it.
I mean, it's online.
But let me ask you this question. You've been down this road. If this were to go to court, what is the judge going to look at?
The minutes. The minutes. And also, that little verbiage that was up there, that's because at that point in time, it was unknown if the township would be paying for those hydrants or if the condo association would be paying, because those roads are not owned or maintained by the township, that's private. That's why that's it.
Nonetheless, it's on the plan.
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Tony, we're ready to adjourn. Tony, real quick.
Just one statement. The 2 hydrants up at the church, the old Kmart, they are not York water hydrants.
Right.
They're private. So they shouldn't be taxed anyway. They're not York
Tony,
water hydrants.
they're within 780 feet of a hydrant in,
Up in Prospect Circle.
up in the circle.
Okay.
So that's why they fall within that.
Okay, gotcha.
I mean, if the board wishes to tax nonprofits and do things for the community, that's your decision.
Well, it's not our decision, it's the law, it's the way the law is written. You tell us what the law says, it's not our
Well,
decision.
this is schedule law. I want to say one thing. Yeah. I don't appreciate it happens from time to time. The township's always getting slammed for something that really isn't either serious or isn't true. And I'm just getting tired of it. And it makes us, we need all the help we can get up here. And so we had this big article in the paper, and I suggest that we respond, and I'll try to respond to that, subject to our approval. And it should be done sooner rather than later because people forget what was originally stated. So I ask the board to consider allowing Todd to respond for us, subject to our approval of his draft. I'll make that motion.
I think if the can I make a comment? I think if the residents knew more about this before you voted on it, I think it would have been more receptive. And I do get offended by your comment to the fact that you're making us feel like we're petty. We don't have the right to ask questions or bring this up. That's your job to answer those questions for us.
I think I stated at the end, I
Yes,
welcome
you
anyone
did.
to call.
But then you made a comment that these are petty things.
No,
These are questions that we as residents should know.
No, let me clarify. I want to be perfectly clear for the record. The fire hydrant issue is not what I was talking about being petty. A lot of you don't come to the regular meetings. I'm talking about the reoccurring things month after month. That's by one or two individuals. So thank you for bringing that up because I did not mean the hydrant issue.
By that.
Yeah. And I appreciate you bringing that up. Not the hydrant issue.
One other thing real quick, and that is, you go to a lot of other meetings, borough meetings and other township meetings, they're not as interactive as we are. I've never told anybody to sit down and be quiet. I'm open for thoughts, suggestions. We have a newsletter. We're on our website with a filament of our meetings. We're all open to any questions any time of day or night. So we are open, but there's another question here. Go ahead.
In light of the fact that the there maybe are errors with the hydrant tax. Could it be rescinded until it's corrected?
No. And the reason I say that is under the township code, we adopted the budget in December of 2014 along with the tax ordinances that support that budget. And under the township code, you can only reopen the budget and the tax ordinances the January following a municipal election. And our municipal election is every other year, and we did not have one in 2014. So that it can't be reopened at this point.
So even though it's fair and incorrect, we still have to, those
Well,
costs have to be.
let me back up here. When you say about incorrect, were there some errors? Yes, those have been corrected. In fact, when the article was probably written, your county assessment already had that information. And I do want to thank Mrs. Averbach because at the last meeting, several people made the comments that, you know, we know there's errors, but no one would share those with me. And I appreciate Mrs. Averbach coming up to me after the meeting and giving me specifics, because that's the only way we can address them. And when she brought it to my attention, we went and looked at it, and that information has been forwarded to the assessment office. The tax bills are printed. And I'm happy to tell you, I actually looked, your bill does have the fire hydrant tax on it.
Thank you.
What's their bill?
I'm curious though, if there are more properties now being added, and I think you based that 12 mil on the 811, with more properties being added, would that reduce the mill? I mean, it won't be, I'm sure, this year, but was there a possibility that'll end up reducing it later?
Well, one thing, when we do the budget in October, we'll look and we'll see where those numbers are. And certainly, if there's a high surplus or something, we can amend that millage. But I did go back and I looked, I believe the face amount for the fire hydrant tax with the addition of those nearly 100 parcels is around $22,050. So that's York water bill if we had these 900. It would be $22,050. At face value, we will collect $22,800. So even with that addition, if we go with these hydrants for Forest Lakes, there's not gonna be this giant surplus that something maybe.
The Forest Lakes isn't on your list.
No, I'm saying if.
But they're not on your list for this ordinance.
No, I'm saying if we add those 9 hydrants, there's gonna be additional costs.
Well, I understand, but they're not gonna be paid right now, and you don't have 9 hydrants as a fee this year. You might get towards the end of the year.
Well, some in Forest Lakes will be paid because.
Oh, yeah, I know, he's paid, and we've got him on.
Is there any interest, I want to follow up with you, any interest, I asked the question, any interest of the board in having the township respond to the letter in the paper? No interest, all right. Leonard?
Where the problem is the feeling and, and perception is reality to a lot of people. And that perception is that a group of the township is going to be taxed. We are used to, and we have a feeling of the accomplishment of the whole community. So it feels like part of the community is being taxed, whether it's reality or not. But I feel it's a creeping cut type of thing. Hey, you get paid for this. Hey, I might get benefits out of that. The others might get benefits from it. But you're going to be taxed for this. And someone else is going to be taxed for something else for this. So it's a creeping perception. And that's where this problem comes in. Instead of being a total feeling of community, of our township, it's like part of the township. And then it's part of the township for another thing, then part for the township. Because Paul said is the first, and I'm not taking you to task or anything.
I can go ahead.
All right? Okay. The first thing that was said is we are not going to raise the tax. The taxes are going to be the same in terms of that. But all of a sudden, here comes for partial. I don't mind paying. Anybody has to be a fool not to support the fire department or police or anything like that, because that's insurance for you, for your family, for your home, your property, and things like that. So that's what the thing is about.
Are you sure I said we're not going to raise taxes?
Yes, you did. Right in the beginning, said, I'm happy to say that we're not going to raise these.
Right at the beginning of what? Oh,
You're getting like me, you're the big A.
Speak for yourself. I did say we have the lowest real estate tax in the county. And I do believe in user fees to some degree, rather than just spread it across all over. It's not an easy thing to do because it's not that black and white. Anyway, I welcome anyone to run for Township Supervisor. Duke State's a very
Delightful job.
yeah, yes.
Just in follow-up to some of the issues that have been raised over time, so I would say that anything that the board can do to increase transparency is going to be a good thing and going to benefit everyone, the supervisors as well as the members of the community, to find that, you know, on page something of the newspaper, which most people don't get anymore, tonight's meeting is at 6 o'clock, that doesn't help most of us who are racing home from jobs and that kind of thing. So the more places that you can put information, the more places that you can make information available to the residents, the more transparent you can see. I think a lot of this apparent behind-the-scene nonsense that's going on that I don't know or need to know anything about, I think a lot of that would disappear if the transparency was less.
Thank you. I want to have Todd reiterate one more time how we extend our information to what means.
I mean, we do the quarterly newsletter, meeting agendas and everything we put on our website.
The meetings are filmed, and you can watch the whole meeting from the convenience of your phone.
I mean, if you have other ideas how to expand that, I mean, we'll certainly entertain
You
them.
can always call the township or one of us if you have questions. But if you have any additional ideas how we can extend ourselves, let us know. With that, I want to thank you all for coming. I'll turn a motion. Is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Thanks again.